Welcome to Knights at the Game Table. Tonight we're playing Magic the Gathering, and Tad's red-blue Aetherflux Reservoir combo deck is going to be taking on Joel's mono-black aggro deck. Who's going to win? Watch the episode and find out.
To keep up to date with everything at Knights at the Game Table, all you have to do is click subscribe and then hit that tiny little notification button next to it, so every time we upload a new video, YouTube will be sure to let you know.
And while you're watching, don't forget that we give away a booster box every month. All you have to do to be entered into the draw is to share this video and then comment down below. Well, let's get into the game.
Okay, so we have a little bit of a throwback here to one we had seen previously with, I believe, Charles playing it. In a previous episode we did, which was at that time, a mono blue deck. And if you remember, this was a mono blue deck that tries to win the game by casting a lot of spells, and then play Aetherflux Reservoir, and then deal your opponent 50 damage.
Nice.
This time we have a similar deck, not the exact same deck, but it's same moving parts, just some additional cards for splashing red, a second color into the deck. And hopefully we'll get to see how those cards actually affect the way the deck pans out.
Okay.
On the right, though, we have Joel, and he's just playing a very, very simple plan. Small black creatures.
Okay, so we've got the aggro versus combo race.
Yeah.
So one player's trying to race the other player out, the other's trying to get his pieces in place and go off.
That is correct. So
Okay,
basically, Ted on the early turn is going to probably spend some amount of time, sort of like, maybe drawing a card or two, playing some of his setup cards, like Inspiring Statuary is a card that he doesn't actually do anything on its own, but allows you to tap your artifacts for mana, which is how you generate these big turns where you cast a lot of spells. So he'll be kind of getting those cards into play, or Psi Master Thopterist. And pretty much Joel's deck is just a lot of 1 and 2 mana creatures, all of them black creatures because it's a mono black deck. And he will just be trying to deploy as many of those as possible and attack Tad as much as he can.
Okay. So what's Tad added for red in this deck? Okay,
so we're only playing 4 red cards total, but they do affect the way the deck plays out some. One is Jhoira, Weatherlight Captain. Jhoira is actually a character we've seen before, but this is a new version. And every time you play a historic card, and artifacts count as historic, you draw a card. So it basically just lets you draw most of your deck when the turn you play it if you're comboing. And the other card is a card called Storm the Vault, which may actually remind you of an old school card that I think maybe you have played before.
Not the infamous Tolarian Academy.
Yes, correct. So Tolarian Academy is a very old card, and basically what it says is that when you tap it, you get a blue mana for each artifact you control. And Storm the Vault, when it flips into its transformed side, actually pretty much becomes that card. So we get to play with a 90s Magic staple.
Oh my god.
Yeah, well,
what do you have to do to trigger it?
Well, it's a little tricky because it's a 4 mana enchantment. It's not just a land you can play for your turn. I'll play this land. You have to play it as a 4 mana enchantment, and then you have to control 5 or more artifacts for it to transform. So it does require some amount of setting up. It's not something that comes.
This deck, 5 artifacts doesn't seem too big a stretch.
No. This deck can have 5 artifacts on turn 2 or 3. It's got a lot of 0 mana artifacts. Okay, so there's the Statuary, and that's kind of a good sign for this deck when it's able to get Statuary in play when they're not under a ton of pressure. I mean, these Siphoners are giving Joel both some pressure in terms of Tad's life total, and also some cards, because they do draw cards when he's able to use their energy ability. But, they're not the most imposing force. So Tad is able to get the Statuary down without, being at a very, very low life total. One of the kind of good things about this blue deck is that really they can go down kind of low,
Yeah.
As long as your opponent doesn't have, like a lightning strike or some way to actually get those last couple of points, you can go down to like 2 or 1 life and then just untap and do all your stuff.
Cool. So on the left here we've got things starting to happen. What's that?
Statuary is being tapped for Psi, and Psi, as we know, is one of the most powerful cards in the deck. Then we're going to play a Renegade map, get a Thopter token, and I think Tad even has a couple more artifacts too. Oh yeah, Mox Amber, and that is going to give us another token. So now we're really well set up. In fact, I think that if Tad wanted to, he could cast a Paradoxical Outcome right now. It's going to kind of be up to him whether he wants to do that. Okay, cool. So he's going to float a mana, get a Thopter, play a Mox, and then this is a pretty early turn, right? Turn 4?
Yeah.
And we're already starting to see stuff happening. And this will give him a chance to cast Paradoxical Outcome, which, if you're not familiar with the card, lets him pick up any number of non-token permanents, so he can't choose the Thopters, and for each one he returns to his hand, he draws a card. So this has been seen a lot, like in Vintage, where they play it with, like, you know, Mox Sapphire.
Moxes, like we're doing here.
A little bit, yeah. We have a Mox. That's true.
We have a Mox. Pick it up, playing it again.
It's not exactly Mox Sapphire, but yeah,
we can
you're
do
right.
degenerate things.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're doing some pretty good turn 4 stuff. We're drawing a ton of cards and then creating, I think, an army of Thopters. So.
Okay. So what can the black deck do to sort of combat this?
Well,
apart from putting on a bit of pressure.
Well, Joel does have access to some removal spells like Walk the Plank that would be able to take care of the Sai, and that would probably be step 1. The problem is by the time he can untap and play that sorcery, Tad may very well have a number of Thopters. Okay, it looks like the Thopter train stopped at like 4, so that's not terrible.
It's respectable, but yeah. I feel like the black deck is still in here if
yeah, it's still problematic. But I will say that the Siphoners do have Menace, so they have to be double blocked. So like a single Thopter can't just like go in the way of that guy. So that's also will be a bit annoying for Tad to have to sit there and realize that it's going to take 4 Thopters to block 2/2/1s.
Yeah. So the black deck was drawing some extra cards there?
Yeah, that's Quincy Siphoner is able to draw cards in your upkeep if you have enough energy, and it handily also just generates energy, so it kind of fuels its own card draw.
Does it replace itself once? How does it?
Every upkeep, if you have 2 energy, you can use those energy to draw a card and lose a life. Okay. So it's like a...
And how much energy does it make?
It makes 1 when it enters and 1 when it attacks.
Okay, so it comes in, attacks, then replaces itself.
Yes, and with 2 of them in play, you know, it pretty much means that Joel's going to be drawing pretty much 2 cards a turn from here on out.
What do we got heading on over to the
so he played a pretty cool one, Bone Picker, which when a creature dies, it costs 1 mana, and since Tad sacrificed some Thopters to Sai, that Bone Picker was a 1 mana 3/2 flyer, which is
nice.
Reminiscent of Delver of Secrets, if anybody's ever flipped that card. But so it looks like Tad is going to try to have another one of his big turns. He was able to kind of get some chump blocks in, and then use Sai to sacrifice the Thopters, which was a pretty good play for him. And now we're going to see what comes next. Okay, Jhoira comes next. Yeah, so we finally get to see her here.
This is a card for every historic.
Yeah, any historic permanent will draw a card.
Nice.
It's pretty much in this deck almost always going to be artifacts.
Yeah.
Although the fact that she actually will draw a card by playing Sai is kind of cool too, and sometimes that comes up.
So we got a card off an Ornithopter so far.
Yep, and it looks like he's able to cast another Mox. See, triple Mox is a really good draw for this deck.
That's nice.
Yeah, because each time he's played those, so he gets to draw a card right from the Mox. Did you draw a card from that Mox, Ember? Okay.
Yeah, he took it early.
Okay.
Oh, so now every artifact is a Thopter and a card drawn.
Yeah. So every single artifact that Tad plays from here on out is going to be a draw card with Jhoira as well as a Thopter token with Sai. And the combination is going to be really...
It's getting a bit explosive over here.
Can we get another playmat? I mean, this is a train of Thopters here. So those Thopters are going to pretty much put a damper on any sort of attacking that...
Tad doesn't even really need a combo finish at this point, does he? He can just make an army of Thopters and swarm the board. Okay, so can the black deck do anything at this point? Has he got any way of turning around and killing a bunch of Thopters?
Not really. I mean, you know, this is sort of the night. I get almost like a little bit of a nightmare situation for this black deck. This is what they don't want to see.
If only he had a creature that came into play and dealt 1 damage to all creatures, that would be really powerful.
Oh, but Wizards would never print a card like that.
No, that would unbalance formats.
There's no sort of Goblin Chain Rollers around. I mean, actually, really, either of these boards would not really want to see that. With the
the black deck wouldn't be overly happy about that either. Would they? Kills most of his stuff.
So Joel gets to attack. So Ted is an interesting decision because every Thopter is almost like a mana with the Saturary in play, but at the same time, you know, Joel does get to draw additional cards with the Siphoner, so he has to sort of decide what's the best way to block, and he determines that he doesn't want to, you know, lose 2 Thopters per Siphoner, which I think is probably a good idea. You know, basically, yes, Joel can draw a lot of cards this turn, or you know, each turn of the game, but like those turns are all 2/2s. Those cards, they're all 2/2s. You know. Okay, Fatal Push is actually a decent card because with some setup, it can kind of deal with Sire Jhoira.
Fatal
Push
are going to die, right? So.
Yeah, this is not looking good for Joel. He did play Ruin Raider, which allowed him to draw an additional card. It's a really cool one. Ruin Raider's a 3/2 with Raid, which means whenever you attack, you kind of draw an extra card at the end of your turn. But like I was saying, even with all these cards, Joel's card draw is only so good when his deck's full of a bunch of 2/2s and 1/2s and 3/2s.
It doesn't compare to the cantripping 1/1 flyers.
No,
again,
it's not nearly on the power level of what Tad's doing here. And so with both Jhoira and Sai in play, and this many Thopters, and this much mana, and still at 9 life, I feel like this is going to be a strong turn for Tad.
Yeah, for sure. So what is the black deck going to be thinking about sideboarding in after this?
The black deck actually has Duress, which I think is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, Duress would be really nice.
It's a cheap enough answer that, you know, most turns Joel will be able to play a threat and the Duress on the same turn, so it doesn't take up a lot of time in terms of developing his board. But also Duress is going to pretty much be able to take any of Tad's key cards except for maybe, you know, Sai. Or Jhoira. But other than those 2 cards, it can take everything. So
cool. Does he have any other discard?
I think that in this list, I think it's just Duress. Does
he not have that Mesmeric Fiend guy in his main deck? Or is that not in this deck?
Let's take a look and see exactly what's going on there. No, it's just Duresses. And some Doomfalls. I'm sorry. He has 3 Duress and 3 Doomfall in a set.
Okay.
So that's it, yeah.
So Duress lets him look at Tad's hand and take any non-creature, non-land card for 1 black mana.
Correct.
And what's Doomfall?
Doomfall is 2 generic mana and 1 black, so 3 mana to take any card in their hand that's not a land. But it's a little slow, but you know what? I mean, against Tad's deck, it's not like this Fatal Push, the removal spell is really doing anything for Joel. So it's signing out some number of those things for the Doomfalls and the Duresses is probably what we're going to see there. So Tad is just doing more stuff. He finally has Aetherflux Reservoir, which is when we have to start keeping life on something that isn't that little die right there, because I don't think that thing can handle it. Yeah, where he's okay. So that's 2 spells. So that's 2 life gained so far, and I have a feeling we're going to gain a few more. Okay, we're going to gain more. All right. So we're notating how many spells Tad has played this turn.
Okay. So what's happening here? Every time he plays a spell now, he is gaining.
He is gaining life equal to the number of spells he has played previously.
Right.
So the first one is nothing. The second one is 2. The third one is 3. Fourth one is 4. And then it just kind of snowballs out of control from there. And you can see how an aggressive deck like the one here that Joel's playing on the right is really going to struggle.
So every artifact at this point is a card, is a 1/1 flyer, is X life.
Correct. Yeah.
Getting ever and ever higher. He's up to 20 now already, so he's restored his starting life
level,
and he's showing no signs of slowing up. Oh my goodness.
This is like, I think Tad is like looking at his hand and just saying, is there any way I can mess this up? And he's like trying to make sure the answer is no. Because I'm pretty sure that almost any way he chooses to sequence his cards at this point.
Here we go. Paradoxical outcome.
Paradoxical outcome. Draw many, many more, and this should be way more than enough. Yeah, so that's going to...
6 now?
Yeah, so that's going to put... It only puts him at 25 life, so you're thinking, oh man...
25, sorry.
Aetherflux Reservoir, you know, it costs like...
The sixth spell gives 5 life, because it's the number you've played so far, right?
No, wait, the 6th spell gives 6 life, or 5 life, yes, I'm sorry, for the number that you've played before.
Oh, we need the second die.
Yes.
We have exceeded the limits of the 6-sided die. We need new technology, we need an 8-sided die. Find us a D&D player!
At some point you need a 100-sided die for this deck if you have a good enough draw. So basically, Tad has played Navigator's Compass. Now he's replaying the Ornithopters, and they cost 0 and do a bunch of things. And at this point, he's just, you know, the life counter technology is just not up to.
We're gonna have to start getting digital life counters for this.
Yeah, it's just not up to this level of life gain. So yeah, well, it's not the life counter's fault. Most people don't gain 100 life in a turn, but. We do. Or Tad does, I guess.
That's how we do things here at Pat's Games.
Yeah, we do. Well, this time we do. I'm happy that this deck, last time we featured it, it just wasn't able to really
we have exceeded 50. We have exceeded 50. So now that means that Reservoir goes off and deals 50 damage. So.
Right. So the activated ability of Aetherflux Reservoir, pay 50 life, deal 50 damage.
Nice.
And so That would put Joel, I think, at minus 40 something. So
yeah.
That's probably enough. Probably good enough. So
shuffling up. So we've discussed that we're bringing in a bit more discard from the black deck.
Yes.
What are we going to see from the blue sideboard?
So it's actually pretty interesting because most of the sideboard is devoted to sort of like control decks or decks that are really good at disrupting you. So we have cards like Karn's Siren of Urza as an alternate win condition. Karn's minus abilities to make a construct that's power and toughness are equal to the number of artifacts you control. The last time when I played this deck yesterday that I made a construct, it was a 1919.
That seems pretty good.
It was a big construct. So Karn is capable of making some very, very large creatures in this deck. And then it's also got some other alternate win cons with Sahid, Jinn of the Lamp. So the majority of the deck's sideboard is not really focused for these aggro matchups.
Yeah.
However, Tad does have the ability to board into Hour of Devastation if he would like to, which is basically like a Wrath of God effect. It makes all creatures lose indestructible, which is handy when you're facing down, for example, like Hazaret. And then it deals 5 damage to all creatures and planeswalkers. So it's a very effective card against the mono red aggro deck, because often you can remove, say, like a Hazaret and a Chandra Torch of Defiance at once.
Wow.
And being able to get those cards off the table buys you a lot of time as the combo deck to do your thing.
Great.
So, but in this matchup, he doesn't have a lot. If he wants to bring in the Hour of Devastations, he can. The Baral, Chief of Compliance, that's in the sideboard, actually just as a means of making Hour of Devastation cost 1 less mana, because Baral makes your spells a little cheaper.
Okay.
And it's also another legendary creature for your Mox.
Oh, that's nice.
That way Mox Amber can tap for mana more consistently in the post-board game.
So what does Baral cost? What does he do?
Baral is one generic mana and 1 blue mana for a 1/3. That makes any instances or sorceries you cast cost 1 less mana.
Nice.
And then it's got some other stuff about countering spells that doesn't really we're going to focus on in this particular deck. But that was good enough to get it banned in the Brawl format.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they tried that out, and then they had some events of Brawl where the top 8 was 8 decks all with Baral. It was
unfortunate.
Yeah, it was 8 mono blue decks, so they said forget that. But in this deck, it's not doing anything as much fun as countering every spell your opponent plays for the rest of the game like it did there. Here, Baral is just a means of casting Hour of Devastation a little more quickly, and also knowing that your opponent would have cards like Duress in their deck. Okay. It's going to enable you to get your Mox into play and start tapping it for a little extra mana with a cheaper legend.
Nice. So, did the players sideboard as we anticipated? Did all those cards come in? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure here, so we get to find out. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing what Tad did, because these kind of combo decks. You've played these kind of decks before,
yeah.
Right?
Yes.
They're always a little harder to sideboard, right? Because you have some number of combo pieces.
That you can't really take out.
Right. If you play like a mid-range deck, like, a deck that's a lot of removal spells and creatures, you can take out some removal for discard or some creatures for removal or what have you. But when you play a combo deck where maybe 70 or 80% of your deck are cards you need to draw to execute your combo, sideboarding's a little more difficult.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Alright, so Tad's got, he did side in some of the spicy ones. Oh, man. I see a copy of a really cool card in this hand. That is Karn's Temporal Sundering.
Karn's Temporal Sundering.
Yes, it's a little bit of an interesting name, but
it's almost the most characters they could possibly fit on a card name. It's almost overlapping the mana cost.
Yeah, nearly.
So what does that do?
Karn's Temporal Sundering is, to put it very succinctly, it's Time Walk. It's take another turn after this one. That also happens to bounce or return to their hand your opponent's best permanent.
Nice.
It is it does require a little bit of setup, unlike back in the old days where Time Walk was just 2 mana. Here, Time Walk costs 6 mana, and it's a legendary sorcery, which means you need to control a legendary creature to cast the spell. So you cannot cast it if there's no Jhoiras, there's no Barals, there's no size hanging out. That card, you can't even play it out of your hand.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so leading with the Duress.
Yeah, lead with the Duress. I like it. And Joel's looking at a hand of Ornithopter and Jhoira, which we can't take. And basically, it's down to the Mox or the Karn's Temporal Sundering. The Mox is probably more dangerous.
Yeah, I'm feeling
for
that.
sure, because the Mox is going to make Tad's draw quicker. But the Sundering is a little scary if you ever get to 6 mana.
For sure.
Alright, so Tad survived that discard, and look at that. Look at how... That's very nice. Isn't it nice when your opponent duresses you, and you discard a card, and then you immediately draw a card that you'd much rather that they didn't duress? It's such a good feeling. Oh, man. Because now he's got Aetherflux Reservoir off the top that,
nice,
you know...
just waiting.
Just waiting for him, waiting for that duress to resolve, and it showed up. So
maybe we've got another duress coming up.
Maybe, or a Doomfall would be another card too that he could have easily here on turn 3.
He needs some pressure as well, where he needs to start getting some damage in quickly.
This Siphoner is going to be able to draw a card this turn, but I think Graveyard Marshal there, just a 3/2, probably a weaker follow-up than another duress or Doomfall, which would have been something that I think would have been really good for Joel.
Okay. Well, okay, now's the time we want the extra discard spell.
Yeah, well, he gets to draw an extra card with
Windsleeve
Siphoner from generating energy.
Okay, let's see.
And we'll see if he can, find a way to interact with Tad's hand. Obviously, like when you're in Joel's seat, you're sitting across from a combo deck that just played 3 lands. You would think that was a good thing, but it kind of isn't, because what kind of hand would do you think he has at this point? All he's got is the good
Doomfall.
Stuff.
There we go.
Yeah, okay, there goes, get out of here, Reservoir.
I'm liking the black deck.
Yeah.
In this position now.
Yeah.
Two creatures on the board, he's got 3 turns lethal, and he's attacking the combat deck's hand.
Yeah, and
it's about as good as it gets.
Oh, for sure. And it's really nice that Tad's play is going to be Jhoira, which he gets to follow with an Ornithopter to immediately draw a card. But it's really nice for Joel that Graveyard Marshal being a 3/2 and Windsleeve Siphoner having Menace are going to make blocking very awkward for Tad.
Nice. What are the stats on Jhoira?
Jhoira's just a 3/3, just 4 mana 3/3. Just old Hill Giant. Okay, maybe Hill Giant.
Little bit better than the Hill Giant.
All right, fine. It's Hill Giant that lets you draw your whole deck, but it's a 4 mana 3/3. I do think that Jhoira is fantastic in this deck, though, and it wasn't in the other version that we'd seen previously. Yeah. I think Jhoira adds quite a bit to the deck, actually.
Nice addition. So you've added some more pressure over there, but haven't managed to remove the Jhoira.
Yeah.
So how's the blue deck looking for options now?
Tad he's got some stuff happening. I see that he does have a copy of Paradoxical Outcome, which is going to be important. But he also has Baral. And he has Baral plus, Time Walk, Karn's Temporal Sundering. So if he plays Baral, and he'll be able to play that kind of Time Walk extra turn effect on, I believe, next turn.
That 3 life seems quite nice, right?
Yeah, Navigator's Compass I really like in this deck. I'm a really big fan of that card in this deck. As I started playing this list, I was more and more impressed by how much life you can gain with that card.
Yeah, he's just swung 6 life, which is another turn's worth.
Yeah, and that's honestly that's before we've even seen him pick him back up and cast him again, which he's probably going to do at some point soon.
Okay. So the black deck really looking for some kind of disruption here.
Yeah, with Tad still at 14, he does. Joel does have a pretty okay attack where he can kind of, throw a bunch of things into the red zone. But Tad, knowing that this isn't like a mono red deck with lightning strikes and shocks at the top end, knows that he doesn't need to block everything. Yeah. There's a small trigger there on Vampire Conquistador. Another, not the easiest card to say.
Vampire Conquistador.
He's a Conquistador, yeah. Because I think he's a vampire soldier, not a pirate, despite being a Conquistador. Joel thinking about it, okay. Using Fatal Push on Baral is actually really, really good for Joel.
Nice.
Because Tad was going to be able to cast some Temporal Sundering there, and now he cannot. Unless he draws a Mox. Or a land, which that'll work too.
The very traditional approach to making your spells is lay some land and cast them.
Yeah, imagine that. Just draw a land and cast your spell instead of tapping all your artifacts. Okay, so Tad can cast, I believe he's got Temporal Sundering. It
only really buys him a turn, though. I mean, he doesn't really put him ahead in any way.
But it draws a card, which doesn't sound like much. He can also return a card to anyone's hand, so I think he can actually target Ornithopter and return that to draw an additional card as well.
Might well be his best
I believe that card, Temporal Sundering, lets you return anything. So, normally you use it on your opponent's card, but in this case I think you actually use it on Ornithopter if he's able to do that. His other option, though, which is also very tempting, is he also does have in his hand Paradoxical Outcome. So the question is, would you rather outcome an Ornithopter and 2 gain 3 lives and gain a ton of life, or would you rather just like take another turn and figure it out from there?
Wow, yeah, gaining another 6 life. He's doing the math here.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out whether it makes more sense to, you know, pick the stuff up now and try to see what happens and draw some more cards, or like, you know, tap out for the time walk. You get to untap and still do all that stuff. It's kind of an interesting choice.
Looks like a time walk.
Yeah, this looks like a Karn's Temporal Sundering. And you, which I think just loosely translates to breaking time, or something like that.
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, so he's going to target
Can't smash time.
Temporal Sundering. He's going to play Ornithopter to draw a card, which is good. And then he is...
Ooh. Is he late 2 lands?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to wait till your second turn, Tad. You get an extra turn, okay? But just
not yet.
No, not yet.
Do you get a cheeky attack in there?
It's like, you get your time walk turn, okay? Like, yes, you get the, yes, it's fair magic, time walk turn.
There is no fair magic.
All right, Tad calling out no such thing as fair magic. All right. Okay, so here we go. There's
another
one?
There's another one! Oh my goodness!
This is the deck I wanted to see. Oh, man. Oh, if Charles could only see us now.
How many more attacks do you need?
I mean, if he plays enough time walks, so you can just attack for 3 with Jhoira a few more times. So yeah, this is that is not what I expected to happen, but it was pretty cool. Okay, so now we're gonna draw more cards of Jhoira. We're gonna gain more life off of these compasses.
Got triple compass. When he returns those, it's gonna be another 9.
Yeah, it's another 9.
It's huge.
Yeah. So it looks like this is going to be a paradoxical outcome,
Nice.
returning the compasses and the Ornithopter, which is going to be a draw 4, which is going to be problematic, to say the least, for Joel. No, you have not played a land. You have not played a land because we let you know last time. Okay. All right, so we're going to go up to 12 now.
Nice. We're a bit short on mana.
Yeah,
right
we
now,
are.
aren't we?
Although he does get to replay Ornithopter for what feels like the 100th time to draw another card to try to find another untapped land.
Another compass.
Yeah, another compass. We're going to go to 15. We're going to draw another card from Jhoira. Isn't that fun?
Nice. Look at that. He's almost back to his starting life total again.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Up to 18.
I would say he did it all this turn, but it took 3 turns. They were just all Tad's turn.
Wow.
All right, now he's looking at his ridiculous hand and trying to determine which cards to discard. You know, I mean, he's got so many good cards at this point. I mean, obviously he wants to keep any copies of Outcome, probably. I think Baral is also an okay card to not discard because it makes Outcome cost 1 less and also draws a card from Jhoira, but Ted might feel he doesn't even need to keep Baral in his hand. He might just feel like it's just overkill. I don't even need it.
Oh, look at that. He's laid so much extra land now, so he's up to 8 lands in total.
Well, he took 3 turns in a row, and Joel has just been politely, you know, waiting for his. When's my turn? Oh, not yet. Oh, still not yet. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, Karn's Temporal Sundering is a cool card, and one you don't see often. It's
no, that was enjoyable. I like
it was pretty cool there. I'm glad we got to see that card on camera. Yeah, Ted's like, I'm gonna take all this damage because I'm pretty sure you don't have like
all
a fling
that
or
extra
anything.
life is just huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
So much for that black deck to chew through.
Well, yeah, I mean, every time he picks up those compasses, it's like, you know, 9, gain more, 9 more, gain 9 more.
It's huge.
So, all right, it looks like after Ted's sort of huge turn that Joel was not able to draw a way to interact with his hand.
Yeah, he really wanted to discard or kill Jhoira maybe or something.
A discard effect there would have been good, or a means of killing Jhoira. Unfortunately, the way that this deck list kind of plays out, you do have some copies of removal in in Joel's deck that don't actually kill Jhoira.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an issue. Okay, here comes Sai, as if we needed more legends on our side, but
we still don't have our.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, okay.
Paradoxical outcome, and now we're going to draw
feels like
several more.
Things are really looking.
Yeah, this feels like
yeah.
Look, I don't even know how many cards he's counting out, and honestly, I don't think we even need to count them at this point. Because Tad has drawn like over half his deck. He's taken a number of turns in a row. He's gained about this. He's gained at this point when he plays a compass. I believe he's going to have gained more life than he started with because he would have played 7 compasses or something crazy. He's also drawn a lot of ornithopters, which are amazing because they draw a card and a Mechanothopter. So at this point, he just needs to determine like what's like my best route to victory here. Can I just reservoir him?
Yes.
Or should I just like attack him with a bunch of thopters? He just gets to decide.
Counting how many spells he's played so far. So
that's not a good sign for. Oh, okay. Here comes Aetherflux Reservoir.
6 spells.
We're at 6 spells.
We're at 6 spells. Okay. Let's see what we got going on. We have Ornithopter. Yep. 7 spells.
7 spells.
Ornithopters.
Gain 6 life.
Yep. So we're at 7 spells, and I believe we're sitting at 12 life. Or 13 life? Oh, yeah, 12 life. 12, got it. Yeah, so then Tad just has to decide what comes next. I guess the answer is a Mox.
A Mox.
Mox is a pretty good card.
Wow.
Yep. Wow, so he's going to gain 7 now, so we're back to 20. Man, Joel just must feel like he's spinning his wheels. Oh my gosh. He's like, attack you. I've got like a bunch of tapped creatures, and like, what's your life total? Oh, 20.
Such
didn't you start at 20? Why are you still there? Okay, so yeah, there's a Navigator's Compass, which is going to gain 3 from its ability, draw a card from Jhoira's ability, gain more life from the ability of Aetherflux Reservoir.
Everything just does so much.
Yeah, every card that Tad plays has like 4 different lines of text on it in addition to whatever it says. Okay, wow. So yeah, so Tad's going to go way over 50 here because I believe he's got a Mox Amber, and that Mox Amber he's got to sacrifice one of them, but that doesn't matter because I believe his next play is actually going to be, let's see it. So Tad could have drawn his entire deck and won the game in a variety of means, but he decided to be merciful and just simply gain 40 life that turn and then deal 50 to his opponent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tad's combo just completely steamrolled Joel's aggro deck.
That was so much fun.
It was. The double time walk was just awesome. So we didn't see a great showing from Joel's aggro deck. I think this was a bad matchup for it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I think the matchups for that black deck are going to be where like Fatal Push is going to be a strong card, and you could play like a bunch of small creatures, Fatal Push their 1 blocker, and sort of attack for a lot. It's not so good when your opponent's taking 3 turns in a row and gaining over 100 life.
Yeah. It's also a really budget deck that black one. It's really accessible to get started.
Absolutely, and that's a really good point. So that black deck, I think retail is going to go right around the $70 range, and even if you just like went to F&M and drafted over the last 6 months or so, you might just find that whole deck just at home. Yeah. And it's a competitive deck too.
Yeah, it can start. What are its best matchups? What can it actually be?
I think definitely other creature decks. I think that it would be a deck that like a deck trying to play like Llanowar Elves might kind of struggle against the number of removal spells in that deck.
Yeah.
Or also just let's call it aggressive decks that do not feature Goblin Chain Whirler.
Fair enough then. And then the Aetherflux Reservoir combo made a much stronger showing on the second outing, and the red was a really strong addition. Yeah, we saw a lot of great things out of the red cards there. We didn't actually end up ever seeing a Storm the Vault, but we saw Jhoira did a lot. Jhoira was huge.
Yeah, she was awesome. She turned basically a bunch of Ornithopters into half of Ted's deck in his hand.
Nice. So okay. Well, that's it. Thank you, and catch us next time on Nights at the Game Table.